Good afternoon, poker people. So I received an email from Tim, and he had four questions regarding PokerTracker 4. So I figured, why not take the time, answer his questions with a video, put it out there on YouTube for the world to learn from his questions as well. So Tim goes on to say in his email to me, "Hey Sky, I have a few questions if you don't mind answering. Number one, I was wondering if you know if there's a HUD stat for fold to raise in big blind versus the small blind. Seems to happen a lot in 6-max where it's blind v blind. I see the big blind versus small blind open, but don't think that is it. No, that isn't. That is a different kind of stat, and we'll take a look at them right now. So if we whip out PokerTracker 4, if you have any questions about stats, the very first thing that you do is you go to the configure menu, statistics. Nice and simple. Now, instead of trying to scroll through and find the exact stat you're looking for, it's all listed alphabetically here. Just type in one or two key phrases within the stat. I always start with like big blind, for example. So what you were talking about here, big blind versus small blind open and then fold, that's simply this one. Now, if you're not sure if that is the stat that you're looking for, look at the detailed description up here. It says the percentage of the time that a player in the big blind folded to an open raise from the small blind when the action was folded to the small blind. So small blind had the chance to open because everyone else folded. He opened and the big blind folded. And now this stat is simply going to record the number of times that happens versus the number of times that he didn't fold. Maybe called or raised versus that small blind open. So that's the first question, Tim. There's your stat right there. And of course, the other ones related to it are 3-betting versus the small blind open and then calling versus said open. Question 2, is there a way to see more detail on the HUD stats like attempt to steal? Is that counting raises from the cutoff and the button if raising first in? And how to calculate total aggression factor? Okay, so we'll hit this first one first, how to calculate total aggression factor. Once again, you simply find your stat, or not find, type in an important word or phrase from the stat. In this one, just AF. There's flop AF, but they're all basically the same. It's just street by street. So we'll look up total AF here. So total AF, or aggression factor, it's the ratio of the times that a player makes a pre-flop or post-flop aggressive action, betting or raising, to the times that they call. So for example, if AF equals 2 on the flop, that means they make 2 bets or raises for every 1 call. 2 divided by 1. And then you can see right down here is the formula for the AF. Now, of course, because it's total AF, we're looking at flop plus turn plus river divided by flop plus turn plus river. But if we go to just river AF, of course, the formula is just number of times player bet plus raised on the river divided by the number of times the player called. Nice and simple. But the initial part of your question, is there a way to see more detail on the HUD stats, like attempt to steal? Okay, so this is what you're going to do for this one. Let's whip out the HUD. And to demonstrate it, I'll make a very simple new pop-up for you. New group. Give it a name. Tim's pop-up. Okay, so you said attempt to steal, for example. What you'll do, so this is how you build your pop-up. You're going to click this. It's going to give you a few different options. Add statistics, add text, add lines, and all that kind of stuff. Let's start by adding text. Stat. Cutoff. Whoops. Button. Add a new line. Add text, attempt to steal. Now what we want to do is add the statistic. Instead of trying to go through and scroll and try to find it once again, of course, just type in a keyword, steal. Attempt to steal right here. Double click that. Let's double click it twice so that we can see. Actually, let's go ahead, click it 3 times because you can steal from the small blind as well, right? So you could see, I like grids, I don't like separators. Good. So the stat that we're talking about is attempt to steal in the cutoff percentage, button percentage, and small blind percentage. So right now, because we haven't made any changes, we haven't specialized these at all, they are just total attempt to steal, right? So if we have this on an opponent, the pop-up's just going to give the same percentage, 75, 75, 75, whatever it might be. Attempt to steal 35, we can say. As a total. So now we want to differentiate these between the different positions, cutoff, button, and small blind. So you're going to select whichever one. Let's start with the cutoff one. Down here, scroll down. You see position says all positions. You simply go to the cutoff. Bam, right there. It's in the cutoff. Let's do the button steal. button attempt to steal, button, come on, small blind attempt to steal, small blind, just so you can see them all. So now the cutoff attempt to steal is in the cutoff, button, button, small blind, shabam. That's how you do it. Now there are other stats too that you can take a look at, you know, in position versus out of position. So we'll just add some stats real quick because yeah, see bet the turn, it doesn't matter. I just want to show you. So if you want to see bet the turn, you want to see how often they do it in position versus out of position. Has position, in position first. The second one is going to be out of position. Great. So now you can see how often they see bet the turn out versus in position right here. Nice. So that answers question number 2. And then you'll normally put those kinds of things within a pop-up, as you saw me create a new pop-up right there, Tim. So question 3, also, do you find more folds with your flop C bets if you size up to 3/4 pot? Seems like I get called a lot more with half pot. And now that's probably true. And yes, you do get more folds just in general. The bigger your bet sizing, the more folds you're going to get, right? If you shove pre-flop, you're going to get a lot more folds than if you just min raise pre-flop. So we can just look at extremes to kind of get a general idea. So that's obvious right there. But now that because we have PokerTracker 4 open, let's take a look and we'll just see what we want to do. Well, we'll see if half pot C bets versus 3/4 pots, if they get more folds or not. Let's configure report. C bet flop success. So I'm adding it to the report. Let's move it all the way to the top. We'll put it just after the currency, after the win rate, I mean. Okay, so our report changes, C-bet flop success right here. Now what you'll want to do is filter for your 2 different bet sizing. Well, in this instance, you can filter for any bet size, but for your question, Tim, you asked half pot versus 3/4 pot, right? So we see the C-bet, first off, the C-bet flop success is basically how often does your C-bet get the folds that you want. Of course, you don't always want folds, but it's the only way to judge this. How often are people folding versus you? So all you need to do is filter for specific bet sizing. So what you're going to do is, first off, on the flop, you flop bet. You made a continuation bet, right? So let's take a look here. We had 241 hands. Once we add the C-bet filter, let's see how many hands we C-bet. Great, 8 times we C-bet, and we made some really good profit when we were C-betting right here. Now let's take a look at various bet sizings when it comes to C-betting. On the flop bet sizing, flop bet between 50 and 50. So actually, let's go like this, because sometimes you hit half pot and it's exactly, you know, it's slightly off. We'll go between 48 and 52% right here. So flop C bet, bet size between 48 and 52. Only did it once for 290. Actually, let's do this. Let's look at all dates, or this year. Should be a pretty good sample size. Awesome. So 508 times I C-bet between 48 and 52%, and my success is 39%, which means that 39% of the time my opponents fold, which means they are calling or re-raising 61% of the time. Cool. So, and we'll do the exact same thing. Go to more filters, delete that. So we're still C-betting because we kept that part of the filter intact. Bet sizing, percentage of the pot, let's say between 72 and we'll go 78%. Like I said, you button click, it's somewhere in that range, but that gives us good enough right there. So C-bet between 72 and 78%. Only 20 hands, so I C-bet much less frequently at this bigger sizing, right? Let's see, I won plenty of money, so still making some good profits right there. 20 hands. But you can see my success rate is 45%. At 75%, they folded 45%. there you go. So over my sample for the entire year so far, my opponents are folding more often at that bigger sizing. And what's also interesting is that, hey, I'm making that bigger sizing less often as well. So maybe there's a reason I'm betting bigger. It's probably because I'm going for maximum value when I'm betting bigger against opponents who can call me, right? All right. So last question. So do you back up and keep your PokerTracker 4 database locally on your PC or in multiple places? So I've only done the backup occasionally, and what I've done is just keep it on a flash drive. So let me show you real quick how to do the backup. I know it's pretty obvious that you said you've done it before, Tim. Right, you have, right? Had to reimage. Oh, maybe you haven't done it before, but just keep it on a flash drive, or if you have a separate external hard drive, I guess you can do. But you'll just go up to database right here, export hands. And I always go to advanced. So choose whatever site that you play on. I think you said in your email somewhere that you play on PokerStars. And let's say you are at 25NL full ring, 25NL 6 max is what you want to save. So by doing this, you can pull out just those games so that you don't save any 5 and 10NL if you don't want those in a database that you have to re-upload or whatever the case is. You can select your dates, of course, specific dates. All dates is already set up there, but specific dates or between dates between January 1st and March 1st, whatever you want to do. You hit export down here once you make your selections, and then just put it wherever you want. You know, put it on the desktop, make a new folder. PT4 backup, baby. And then just hit OK, and it's going to save all those hands, put them directly on your desktop. Then you put in a flash drive and upload them to the flash drive. All right, well, thank you very much for that question, Tim, and thank you very much for everybody else who decided to tune in and watch this video. I do appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, turn on that little bell notification at the bottom of the screen there. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you on the flip side.